Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel SummarizedAI. Today we are going to talk about one of the most essential part of Python, which is file handling. Whether you are saving user data or logs or reading any configuration file, knowing how to work with file is a must-have skill for every Python developer. As part of this video, we will work with text file, image, JSON, Excel, and binaries to read, to perform read and write operations. So without wasting our time, let's go ahead and start. As we know, files in Python allow us to perform various operations like reading, writing, appending, and deleting. So let me talk about some operations here. So the very first operation or the mode when we open a file, it's a read operation. Read operation is nothing, just to read the content of file. If that file is not available, it will throw an error. Okay. Now the second operation is write. If you wish to write anything inside a file, we can use this W mode, which allow us to write data into the file. Now the second one is append. So there is a slight difference between write and append. The append is to append the data into the file. So for example, if there are 5 lines written into that file, then if we perform the write operation again, it will overwrite that content. But if we will go with the append operation, it will add the content from the sixth line. It will not overwrite or touch the existing content. Yep. Now, X is all about create a file, which is a text file, and it will be giving an error if that particular file doesn't exist. So any file, any type of file which doesn't exist, it will give the error. So for example, if you are creating a file example.txt or example.jpg, if that file already exists, it will throw the error file already exists. In place of write, it will just write the content without seeing the file. If the file already exists, it will create that file again or check the particular file and write the content. But here, as part of the act mode, it will give the error if that particular file already exists. Now, binary is for reading and writing binary content. For example, we have images or we have JSON files. So read and if you wish to perform any read and write operation, we are going to use this binary mode with R or W. So it will be like RB or WB, which says read binary or write binary. So now, without wasting our time, let's go back to our Visual Studio and start the implementation. Now I will be creating a file underscore text dot py, and as part of this file, we will be writing a code to create a text file and write a content inside that file, and then we will be reading that same content. Yep. So let's start. So we gonna say file equal to open. Open is nothing but a method which allows us to open a file. Okay. So I'm saying example.txt, the file name, and I'm going to perform W operation. Now it will open this file to perform the write operation. If the file doesn't exist, it will create a file. That's what we discussed. Now file.write. Hello, how are you doing? Okay. Now this particular content it is going to write. And with file.close, we are going to close this particular file. Okay. Now let me perform this particular operation. Let's execute this code. Now, as soon as I execute this code, you can see there is a file got created example.txt. And if I open this particular file, the content got added. Now, if I add 1, 2, 3 here, for example, and again I execute this file, you can go and check that content got overridden and we have this particular content here. It did not add this content. It completely overridden. Okay, so that's right. Now, if we have to read the content from file, simply we can say file equal to open, and again we have to provide the file name .txt, and now the operation is going to be R, which is read, because we are going to read the content from file. Now content equal to file dot read. Okay. And if I print this particular content, print content, it will print the content of the file. And I can say here file dot close. So it will close the file. Now let's go ahead and execute this piece of code. You see, it created this file it wrote, and this particular line, it read the content from the file. Okay. Now, for example, if I'm gonna say here example underscore one, and we are going to read this particular file, we know this particular file doesn't exist in the same folder. So let's see what it says. It says no such directory or file doesn't exist. If the file doesn't exist, it will throw the error. That's what we saw earlier. Now we are good with these read and write operations. Now we discussed one more operation, file equals to open, provide the file name example.txt, and I'm going with the A operation as of now. Okay. Now with this A option, if I try to write something, okay, or I say hi, I am doing good, okay, and then say file dot close, okay, it will close the file. Now if I perform this operation, you see it appended this particular piece of code, okay, while writing. Great. Now if I say something like slash n, okay, now let's see like how it will behave. Okay, so let me run it again, and here I'm going to run something else. I'm going to say hope you are doing well. Okay, let's run this. Now if I run this, you would go back and see this particular text coming in the next line because we have given the escape character as a n session. Okay, now this is all we have when we read, write, or append operation, perform append operation. Now suppose um, I have one more function. Okay. So before that, before let's talk about one more thing very important. We have a with keyword in Python. Okay. And what it does, I will tell you. So in with keyword, we can open a file. Okay. Now open a file. I can say example.txt, and I'm opening this file as a read operation. Okay. And I'm saying as file. Okay. Now if I print the content, I can say file dot read. Okay. I will be able to read my content. So just for the differentiation, I'm going to write the separator here. Okay, now let's go ahead and clear the console and execute this code again. Now you see, we are able to print our file content. Now there are multiple things we have in this line. The very first thing is with. If you are using this with keyword, you need not to close this file explicitly. That's what we were doing earlier, file.close. Okay. Once your operations are done, okay, the file will get closed automatically. So there is no headache. Now after that, we are creating a variable of this particular file as file, and we can perform our operations. Okay. Now here file.read is reading a content in one statement. Okay. But suppose if I wish to have one line at a time. Okay. So for that, what we can do, we can say for line in file. Okay. Colon. And then if I say print line dot strip. Okay, it should be file. Okay, now let me run this. So you would see it is returning line one by one. Okay, I know it may be confusing. Let me do one thing. Let me say here one, for example. Okay. Now you would see it is reading the content line by line. First, it printed this line, and then it printed this. Then it went to the second line. Then again, it printed the output and then one. Okay. So one line at a time we can print using this particular method. Okay. Now, this was all about we had read, write, append. Now we have one more thing, like we have created this file, but now we wish to delete this particular file. Okay. So for that, what you can do is you can use OS, operating system. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna import OS here. Okay. After importing OS, we can say if os.path, okay, dot exist example.txt. If this particular file exists, please go ahead and remove. I'm asking that OS to remove this particular file. Okay, great. Now let me execute this particular code here. You see the file got deleted. Okay, let me do it again for you guys. Let me run this code without this line. File got created. I can see the content. Now let me append this line here. So it will create the file. It will do read write operation. Then at the end of the day, it will delete. See, it got deleted. Okay. So this was all about we had to create, read, write, and delete the particular text file. Now let's move toward image. Okay. Now suppose if I wish to read any image. Okay, so we can read that particular image as a binary. Okay, and then we can convert that binary into the image again. So let's go and copy paste one image. So I have a image of victor.jpg. Okay, and let's create a file underscore img.py for image operations. Okay, here we can again say with open provide the image name victor.jpg, and as you know, like we are working with binary, so we will be saying RB. So read binary as IMG. Okay. Now, once we have this binary, we can say data equals to IMG dot read. Okay. Now, once I have this data, I can print it. I can print it here. Print by data. Now, if I run this particular code, okay, it will print that particular binary. Oh, I think there is something wrong I have. So it is been open .jpg, then I'm thinking binary as img file image, and img is not defined. Okay, no, but I have defined the img here. Let me update the variable name. I'm this might be a identifier. Okay, now let's go ahead and oh should let me interrupted it. qit. Okay, we quit from there. Now let me again run this code. I can see the binary here. Okay, so I think earlier I um, typed something and ran that code. So we got the binary. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, we are going to read this particular binary and write into one of the file. Okay, so we are going to say with give the file name here. You can say vic victor underscore binary. Okay, and then we are going to perform the operation wb. Okay, and then as file. Correct. File. Okay. Now here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say file dot write. Okay. Now you know I have a data here. I can write this data into this particular file. Okay. And as we know, there is no need to write file dot close because with will take care. Now let me go ahead and execute this particular piece of code. Before that, let me clear everything here. Now, as soon as I run this, you can see this particular file got created. Okay, and I think one mistake I did as a binary file, I have to save it as part of dot bin. Okay, so let me come back here. I forgot to give the extension. Clear. Remove this one not required. Now it will create a file. Okay, the file got created is this one. So if you open this particular file, it's a binary file. We will not be able to read it, but what we're gonna do here is after writing this particular file, we gonna read this file again. Okay, so copy paste this. We know this binary file in place of WB, we wish to have RB, and then we have file. We gonna say file dot read. Okay, and file dot read will allow me to read the content. Okay, once I have that particular content with me, I can say content equal to this. Okay, I can say binary underscore content. Okay, so I got the binary content. Now again, I have the binary content, and what we did here is write. Okay, so again, what we gonna do is we gonna write this content to JPG. JPG. Okay, and I'm saying here my file name is going to be Victor underscore one. Okay, Victor underscore one dot JPG. Write this particular content into this file. Okay, now as soon as it will write this content, it will create the image. So what we did, we had the JPG, we created a binary file. Now we are reading that particular binary file and again converting it into the JPG. Okay. Now, yep, JPG, yes, correct. Let me execute it again. I executed, you see this particular file got created. You see the image, we got the image back from binary. Okay. So this is how we can work with the binaries in Python, okay, using WP and RB. Now, after this, we are going to see how we can work with the JSON. So let's go ahead and create a file, file underscore JSON.py. Okay. And as we know, whenever we are going to work with JSON in Python, we require a package which says import JSON to perform JSON operation. Now let's create a sample JSON. We say data equal to, and then provide a name, say Mike, okay, and then say age 28, okay, and say skills also, skill, and then say Python, okay, and then you can say Streamlit or LangChain. These are the skills of Mike. Now, after having this skill, we can again perform the same operation with open, okay, open a file, and here we can say data.json, okay, and then you can say W here, W as an operation as file, okay, and I know and we know like file dot write, we will be able to write that particular content there. Okay, so file dot write, we're gonna say data. Okay, yep, data. So we have everything with us. The file is there. Now as soon as I click on execute, it should write the content, but I'm facing some issues. Write dot this. Okay, so I have to provide data and I have to provide the file name also. So I'm gonna say data. Then oh, sorry, it should not be the file dot write. It should be the JSON JSON dot dump this particular JSON. What is the data we are going to use? We are going to use this data, and in which file? This is the file in which you have to write this data, and we have to maintain the indentation also. So we are saying indent 4. Okay. Now if I execute this particular piece of code, you will see that file got created. Okay, and whatever content we have written there, now it is here. Okay. Now again, if we wish to read this particular JSON, we're gonna say with open again, provide the file name data.json. Okay. Now because we are going to read the file, we can say R as file. Okay. And enter and the data equal to JSON dot load file. Okay. So this way we will be able to read the content. I'm going to say print data. Okay. Let's execute this piece of code. You can see I'm able to read the JSON. Let me clear everything here and then again run. You see I'm able to read the JSON and print it. Okay. Now, because we have the JSON with us, okay, and if I say here skills. Okay, so if I say name, name colon, and then say comma data. So we have this field name here. Let's copy this and provide here. It will be a key. Okay, now if I execute this code, you can say name Mike. So similar to that, we can get other values also using the key name. So this is all about the JSON, how we can work with JSON file handling in Python. Okay, now let's move towards the Excel, how we can read and write the content from Excel. So file underscore Excel dot py. Okay, now as we know, to work with Excel, we require a panda on first place. Okay, so we are gonna say import pandas as PD. Okay, now once we have this panda, we are going to give a file name to our Excel. We can say data dot XLSX. Okay, this will be my file name. Now again the same thing with open. Okay, and here you can provide your file name. Now you have to provide the operation, which is going to be a WB. Okay, now WB, and then you can say as file, enter. Now here we are going to say DF, correct? So first we will require a data frame. So for that, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna get the data frame. Okay, so before getting the data frame, we have to create the data which we are going to write inside the Excel file. Okay, so for that, I'm going to say data equals to here. Let's say again name, one of the column name, and inside this column, I have some values. So I'm going to say Mike, Bob, and then here I'm going to say Charlie. Okay, once we have this comma and then say age, you can provide the age 31, 34, or 67. Okay, now we are gonna say city. So city is going to be again a square bracket. You can say Austin, you can say Phoenix, and you can say Chicago. Okay, now we have this particular data ready. We have to create a data frame. So data frame equals to, we know it is very easy, which is nothing but pd dot data frame. Okay, now as soon as you say this, pass your data inside it, it will create that particular data frame. Okay, now we have already opened a file in which we are going to write the content. Now you can say data frame dot to Excel. Okay, we have to write into the Excel. As we know, we have to provide the file name and the index equal to false. Okay, now false, the F should be capital, false. Now, after giving these values, it will be able to create this particular Excel. Let's go ahead and execute this particular set of code. You would see the Excel got created. Okay, now to see this particular Excel, I will be going back to my folder. Here, you see we have created this Excel. Let me open it. You are seeing this particular name, Mike, Bob, Charlie got created, and we have age and city here. Now, once we have this particular file, and if we wish to read this file, okay, we can go down and we can again say with open, then provide a file name, then provide RB. Okay, so I'm already having a file name here, file name, and then say RB here, and then as file. Okay, now here again, data frame equal to PD dot read Excel. And inside this, you can provide the file, so it will read this particular file. Now, once you are able to read this file, you can say print df, okay, and it will be able to read your file. Let me clear everything here and execute this code. You see, it is able to read your Excel, the content from your Excel. And this is how we can perform read and write operations for different types of files. Now, if you wish to learn about the PDF, okay, and let me tell you about the PDF. So PDF, we have some other Python libraries, okay, OpenPy Excel we can use, okay. For those operations, I will be creating a different video because this, if I will add PDF also as part of this video, it is going to be too long. So that's all we have for today for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this video helpful and want to see more on Python or how to read the PDF files or on AI, don't forget to like and click on notification bell icon to stay updated and subscribe the channel. See you in the next video.